self-service BI and enterprise BI. And as I said, Power BI origins are, if you use, how many of you use Power BI actually? All of you, good. So you go to Power BI desktop, you go and you build, get data from everywhere, you create a model, you create your report, visualization. All of you can do that. All of your business analysts can do that. Everybody can do that. This is self-service BI. This is that ease of use, the ability to load the free desktop is what made Power BI as popular as it is today. But as I said, IT wants more. IT wants to be able to go and not just do this small, fun but small BI models. They want to go big. They want to put the full breadth of semantic models into into Power BI, and that requires much more complex models, more measures, more table, more scale, much more data. Well, we are lucky. Power BI's foundation is built on top of decades of IP that we have in Microsoft. I've been working at the SQL Server organization for almost 2 decades, building SQL Server analysis services. And this is, how many of you have used analysis services before? Yeah. So you know what they're talking about. This is the workhorse of the BI industry. This is what really democratized BI at bringing it to every company because we just lower the cost of BI servers. And you know what, the kind of power we have there, it is the backbone of Power BI today, and what we're doing is open the full power of analysis services into the Power BI users. We kind of focused on making it simple for the BI users, for the data analysts, but no more. We're really going to open up all the floodgates to get all the features, all the APIs, all the utilities working with that analysis services that is the bedrock of Power BI. How many of you have been using reporting services? SQL Server, oh yes. That's the other big engine that we have. That one is also coming to Power BI. We're bringing enterprise reporting to Power BI, which means you can get paginated reports with headers, with footers. You can have it, not just the fun slide side report that you have in Power BI, but really multi-page, that you can have product catalogs and orders and invoices and inventory lists and everything that you are used to from reporting services. All of that is coming to Power BI, and you'll be able to schedule it and to send it to people's mailboxes with personalized slices and under certain conditions, all the stuff that we need in order to really get enterprise reporting into the enterprise. And that's not all of it. Because when you ask the guys in IT what they really, really care about, what makes them not fall asleep at night, it's all about governance, security, the thing that can go wrong. And we're putting a massive effort around the whole notion of enterprise governance, management, and control in this year. So we're going to work on things like multi-geo deployments. If you came from around the world, you know that there are a lot of regulations where the data can be stored. If you're in Germany, the data has to stay in Germany. If you're from China, the data has to stay in China. We now allow you to deploy Power BI and in a way that the data will reside in the region that it needs to reside in to make it sure that it's compliant. So Power BI is a single system image. We have one Power BI system, global, around the world, but it's made out of multiple data centers, and you can actually, as IT, configure in which data center the data will reside. Still, collaboration there's no silos. You can collaborate. Everybody from any region can access the data if they have permission, but you can meet the compliance requirements of the regulators. Lineage and impact analysis, a lot of auditing work that we are doing. A lot of work that we are doing around certified data sets and around the application lifecycle management. So let's just focus on the last two for a moment. Certified data sets. This is, everybody can create data, but some data is better than other data. We know that. There's data that people work to clean, to enrich, to verify, to validate. And what we're going to provide is for that data that you guys have created, the IT-blessed data, you can go and certify it. And when you certify that data, you put that certified tag on it. Whenever your business users go to create new reports, say, I want to connect to data, the first data set that will show up, floating to the top, will be your certified data sets. They'll know which data is best. It will have certain special tagging, special way for them to know that this is better than the other data. So encourage them to find it. The system will help them find it, help them make sure that they use it, and you'll know what they're using. And you can see that they're using the right set of data. Certified data, and you can see the slider there. Very, very simple. Just create the data, certify it, and just all your users that have permission, it will float to the top of their list. ALM. You know, we build those big systems. You know, we have today, it's kind of stunning how in the last year, we move from, you know, as enterprises start to adopt it more and more, we move to the state where if a report is down or a BI application is down for an hour, we get a call from the CIO saying, how dare you? I have thousands of people who are relying on that report to run their business. You know, BI becomes mission critical, which is something I've never seen before. In decades I've been working in the BI industry. BI is now becoming mission critical when the system is not up, when the system is showing wrong data, when the system is slow. The CIO knows about it. The organization is disrupted. So we need to start managing those applications the same way that we manage any other mission-critical application. And it means also a proper application lifecycle management system. It means that there is going to be a development environment. There's going to be a test environment. There's going to be a deployment environment. And you'll be able to move the artifacts that you're developing from one environment to the other in a controlled manner. You can do diff to see the differences. You can decide which measures you want to move and which measures you haven't finished developing and keep them in the other side. All of that is coming. This application is going to show up in the next few weeks when we have another thing that is coming, which is, of course, the APIs. The XML for Analysis API, that is the API of analysis services that is allowing us to connect to all the tooling, SQL Server Management Studio, SQL Server Profiler. All this stuff is going to work with Power BI as well. The whole wealth of the enterprise stack is going to work with Power BI. And to demonstrate some of that, I'm going to invite Christian Wade to the stage. We want to see both enterprise reporting and enterprise modeling.
All right. Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here. Let me just get... hello? I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm going to start with complex models. You know, with Analysis Services has been around for 20 years, as Amir said, and it's really the enterprise business intelligence workhorse of the industry. And with Analysis Services, it's not uncommon to have models with over 100 tables in a single model. So we are introducing a new diagram view. And sorry, just 1 second here. All right, we're introducing a new diagram view that will scale to hundreds of tables and allow users to break out these models by subject area, and it just allows the management of these much larger models. You just have to excuse me here. Just 1 second. All right. Sorry. Just getting loaded here. Wasn't expecting this. OK, here we go. This model, as you can see, just loaded in a few seconds. It's got almost 100 tables. All right. We can break it out by subject area. And there you can see, and so here we have a separate subject area and another one here. And we can create new layouts. And I'm going to find a table. We can add related tables. So as you can see, we've got a nice new diagram view for Power BI Desktop. This will be shipping very soon. And it really allows the business intelligence professional, makes the life of the business intelligence professional much easier. We can also multi-select objects and set common properties in one go. So in this case, you can see I have 3 columns selected. I'm going to set the display folder. And display folders are a feature from Analysis Services. Whoops, the zooming isn't working very well. Excuse me. So display folders is a feature from Analysis Services. It's been around for over a decade, and it is precisely to allow consumers of these complex models to find what they're looking for much more easily, okay? So when you have these large models, there's a lot of complexity, there's a lot of interdependency, and we have these techniques to make them easily consumed, right? Now, okay, so that's the new diagram view. The next thing I'd like to talk about is that we recently introduced a feature called composite models. And this is really a game changer in terms of what you can do with direct query in many different ways. So for this particular table, if I, even though the zooming isn't working very well, but let me try it. So you can see here, this table is a direct query table, and it's getting data from HDI Spark, right? And traditionally, direct query, which will federate the queries to the data source on the fly as the users interact with the visuals, traditionally, direct query was only for a single data source, whereas now we can have multiple direct query data sources in the same data set, which opens up lots and lots of new scenarios that were not possible before. And additionally, we also can now have import and direct query combined in the same data set, right? This is really a game changer. Whereas before, the whole data set had to be import, you can now pick and choose the individual tables to cache to get that blazing fast performance for your users where it really counts, all right? You get a much bigger bang for your buck in terms of the resource usage and memory consumption that is used by caching the data into memory, okay? So this is composite models, multiple direct query sources, and combining import and direct query in the same data set, all right? This is huge. We've just delivered this in preview, all right? Now, what I'm going to show now is a feature that builds on top of composite models. And this feature is truly, I don't know if you've seen this because the demo has kind of gone viral, but this feature is truly a game changer in terms of scalability, right? This is actually probably the biggest scalability feature we've pretty much, you could argue that we've ever delivered. I mean, this one is absolutely huge. So I'm going to switch over to here. And so this data set is data for a crowdsourced courier service where a smartphone app emits the driver's locations, right? And as you can imagine, it generates a ton of data. So this measure, as you can see here, not sure whether I should, there you can see here, this measure is simply giving us the count of all the rows in the table, right? So let's find out how many rows we have in this table. So I'm going to drag this onto the canvas, and just to put this into context, I did a keynote at a conference last year, and I had one of the biggest Azure Analysis Services SKUs with 400 gigabytes of memory and over 25 cores, just a huge data set, and that thing was 10 billion rows, and that was really pushing the boundaries in terms of what you could scale to in terms of an enterprise business intelligence platform, right? Well, this data set is actually a trillion, right? This kind of defies the laws of physics as we know them in terms of what is enabled for interactive analysis. You notice I just got instant response times on this data, right? This is a trillion rows of data. This is actually 1/4 of a petabyte of data from HDI Spark. This is something that, you know, if you ever watch these big data demos, this is the first time that I'm aware of, at least, that anyone can have this kind of interactive analysis over such a large data set, all right? So this is a trillion rows. I'm going to go with this measure, travel distance. I'm going to break it out by date. I'm going to make it nice and big. I'm going to make it a bar chart. I'm going to break it out by the miles per job. And I'm just getting instant response time. Just clicky, clicky, draggy, droppy data analysis over this massive data set, right? It's just instant response times, instant gratification, right? And I'm now going to filter this data just by the drivers who left the organization, right? And I'm now going to generate another visual here and make it a table. And I'm going to filter this just by December 23rd. If I select it here. And now I'm going to bring over the driver name to this visual. So I've just like that, I've created a list of users who worked on December 23rd, subsequently left the company, performed jobs of over 50 miles, over 1/4 of a petabyte of data. How is this physically possible, right? So with Power BI, we achieved this blazing fast performance by caching data into memory, right? Now, that's why these Azure Analysis Services SKUs have so much memory. Now, even with our compression ratios, 1/4 of a petabyte is quite a lot of data. So what we're doing here is we're caching the data at the aggregated level, which unlocks these massive data sets in a way that was physically impossible before. And you'll find that you should get very high cache hit rates because the percentage of business intelligence queries that are at the aggregated level are very, very high, probably 90, 95%. And if the user happens to drill down to the detail level where there is no cache, so in this case, I'm going to drill through to Abigail Johnson. And we're now going to switch over to this other report. So this is going to take a little bit longer because this is going to plot the individual locations for Abigail Johnson on December 23rd, right? So it's now going to select a few hundred rows from the trillion row table. So there is no aggregation happening here. So it's not hitting the aggregated cache. So what's it going to do? It's just going to, because of now we have this hybrid direct query and import combined in the same data set, it's just submitting a direct query to, in this case, HDI Spark. And this will work on HDI Spark, on Databricks, it works on Azure SQL Data Warehouse, and many, many other direct query sources that we support. All right? So we can see this query is running here for Abigail Johnson. And obviously, this is a trillion rows of trillion rows of data. This is a 23-node HDI Spark cluster. You know, it's 1/4 of a petabyte of data. It still takes a little while, but you'll find that, generally speaking, the data warehouses and these big data systems tend to handle these non-aggregated filtered queries quite well, right? And you're using Power BI for what it's really good at, which is these aggregated queries, and you're using the data warehouse or the big data system for what they're better at, which is the non-aggregated filtered queries. So here we can see Abigail Johnson drove all the way across Memphis just before the holidays. She had multiple jobs. She got frustrated. She left the company. Maybe she started her own company. She's doing very well now. The point being, we unlocked 1/4 of a petabyte of data. We enabled interactive clicky, draggy, droppy style interactive analysis over 1/4 of a petabyte of data in a way that was physically impossible before. Okay, this is a real game changer. This truly will transform interactive analysis over big data. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. All right, now there's more. So another thing that we're going to do, this is a brand new demo. No one's seen this demo. This demo didn't exist until just like very, very recently. I'm not going to say 10 minutes ago. This is a brand new, hot off the press feature I'm about to show. So this year, we'll be opening up as Amir described, the XMLA endpoint for Power BI. So what XMLA endpoints will allow is the open platform connectivity that we have with analysis services, right? So as Amir said, analysis services has been a market dominator for 20 years. Basically, every other major BI vendor on the planet supports connectivity to analysis services. Once we open up the XMLA endpoint on Power BI, you will be able to connect to a Power BI data set as though it were an analysis services database, all right? So our competitor BI products will be able to connect to them to have that reusable semantic model in an enterprise organization. Obviously, we believe that Power BI should be used for visualizations, but it is an open platform connectivity. And
this is actually very,
yeah.
very important. This is,
yeah.
You know, you're going to find that you have users that, you know, they love the tool that they're using right now. Maybe they're using Tableau. Maybe they're using other tools. And you still want to get Power BI to be adopted, you can have the data in Power BI. You can have the users connect from Tableau to Power BI using XMLA. Tableau already supports it because it supports analysis services, and Power BI is going to look to Tableau like that connecting to analysis services. So you can have all the data. I don't know how to make my mind work.
Can we have maybe this mic?
No?
Can we have this mic? Oh, no. No. All right.
I'll do this one.
All right. I'm not going to take my shirt off.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
All right.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Okay, so you can have all the data be in Power BI, have your Tableau users connect to the data sets that are in Power BI. Tableau already supports it because it supports analysis services. Power BI looks like analysis services to Tableau. So you can have the enterprise model stored there. You can have most of your users use their dashboards and reports in Power BI, but those die-hard Tableau users, you can serve them. You can still support them because it will work.
Yeah.
It will work with Tableau. It will work with any other BI tool that supports XMLA, which is the vast majority of the tools in the industry.
Absolutely.
And that really allows you to really create that center of gravity data well, where everything is in one place, managed in one place, governed in one place, collaborated in there, but still don't leave those Tableau users out of the loop.
Absolutely. And another example of this is for the management tools, right? So we have lots of intellectual property for analysis services in terms of management, like SQL Server Management Studio, SQL Server Profiler, SQL Server Data Tools for authoring these models. And here I have a SQL Server Management Studio that is connected to, let me just open this up here. This is connected to, actually you can see it better over here. If I try and zoom in, this is actually connected to a Power BI workspace, right? This is not connected to an analysis services server. This is connected to a Power BI workspace. This is listing all of the data sets in the Power BI workspace. In fact, I have a copy of it here. So this is the same workspace with the same data sets, all right? So I can now connect from SQL Server Management Studio. I can manage these data sets. I can set security. I can perform scripting operations. I can perform administrative operations. I can perform fine-grained data refresh operations. All right, so here I have this data set, and I'm going to go to this table, and I'm going to look at, in fact, I think I already have this window open. These are the partitions for this table, all right? So we introduced a feature recently called incremental refresh, which is also a significant scalability feature that allows you to not have to refresh all 10 years and 10 billion rows of data every time you do a refresh, right? You can just refresh only the data that has changed, which is much more efficient, much quicker, and much more reliable, and doesn't depend on volatile connections to data sources, et cetera. Now, the way that incremental refresh works, and for the analysis services practitioners among you, you will probably be fully aware of this, the way that incremental refresh works, and for Power BI, by the way, it's very simple. You just set it up in Power BI Desktop, right? But then when you define that incremental refresh policy in Power BI Desktop, and you perform a refresh in the Power BI service, the way that incremental refresh works is it generates good old traditional analysis services partitions, right? So, and it uses partitions to only refresh the data that has changed based off the incremental refresh policy. So I can now, for the first time, connect from SQL Server Management Studio to a Power BI workspace. I can see the data sets, I can break out the tables, and I can even see the partitions generated by the Power BI incremental refresh feature, right? And so here I have
How about we move to the next reporting because we're running out?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just quickly say that you can script this out, and you can refresh historical partitions, right? Okay, and so that's XML endpoints. It's also a bunch of community tools will also be able to connect to the Power BI workspace. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is, well, a couple of things. First off, this is the new homepage, right, that we just launched. And this allows business users to find what they're looking for very easily, right? It lists the dashboards and reports and workspaces that they are most interested in based on their usage and what they have flagged as favorites. We have a nice search capability here. So again, I can find apps and workspaces, etc. And in this case, I'm going to go to this report. So as you can see, this is just a report, but it's a special type of report, which is, it's actually a reporting services report. This is still not yet released. This is still on a private workspace. So this is a reporting services report. As you well know, there are countless masses of reporting services artifacts on premises today. They will all be able to mass migrate to Power BI so that organizations can co-locate their business intelligence artifacts in a single, easily accessible location in the Power BI workspace. This is, pixel perfect paginated reports. We can export to a variety of formats. And as Amir said, we'll be able to have scheduled delivery, etc. So reporting services and analysis services are coming to Power BI. We are bringing the full enterprise capability to Power BI as a single, all-inclusive platform for enterprise and self-service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you. Thank you.